Hello, my name is Kerem and I'm a Birmingham teacher. Today we are going to focus on reading, and unit's name is medicine, number 10, and the page is between 170 and 187. Now let's start with a definition of a word, and it is diagnosis, and its origin is Greek, and it means a statement about what disease someone has based on examining them. So basically, you go to a doctor, he runs some tests, he checks your blood levels or cholesterol levels, and he tells you what your illness is. This is called diagnosis, and there's an example for further comprehension. We can think that the tablets didn't help, and I suspected that the doctor had given me an incorrect diagnosis. So the doctor decided something wrong, we can say. So diagnosis, it means that decision that doctor makes. And let's move on to another word, and which is self-diagnosis. So we can say that this is some kind of opposite or vice versa. So the meaning is the process of diagnosing or identifying medical condition in oneself. And let's say you are your own doctor. So you don't go to doctor, you check your symptoms online, maybe from your smartphone, and you decide what your illness is. This is called self-diagnosing. And self-diagnosis is a noun form and verb form is diagnose. And let's move on to a question. When you self-diagnose, you basically search for an illness or disease online or from books. And so what medical information do you look up online generally? So it may be diabetes, it may be depression or anxiety. By the way, these are the words which mostly search on Google. So diabetes, depression, and anxiety. So it can change person to person because everyone's diseases or what they are anxious about on their body or on their mind is different. So you can search however you feel like to self-diagnose yourself. And let's move on to other questions. So how do people self-diagnose themselves? There are some ways. So first one, they can read medical dictionaries, they can read books, so they can search on the internet for their symptoms, or they can use their smartphone programs, because there are many programs now on Apple's like program stores, so they can download and they can check their symptoms. And also the technology is very advanced right now. There are smartwatches which basically shows your heart rate, blood pressure, and if there is an emergency, even they can call the ambulance or call the hospital. And past personal experiences, and this can be if you had an illness before. So if you feel the same symptoms, you can think that I have the same illness because you know it. And the last one, recognizing symptoms of a condition that a family previously had. So this is also one of the most popular ones, because when we think that if one of our relatives has an illness, we can think that we have the same illness, this as well. So this can be a chronic disease, this can be a genetic disease. So this also causes that we think that we have the same illness, and we try to self-diagnose ourselves without consulting a medical professional or a doctor. And pros and cons of self-diagnosis. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages of self-diagnosing or deciding what your illness is. Let's talk about positive aspects of it. So some people may think that it is quicker, it saves time or saves money, and we cannot blame them, because when you think about it, it takes too much time. Think about all the trouble when you go to a hospital, or think about the treatment and medicine bill, the cost. So they think that they can save money or save time when they self-diagnose or when they try to treat themselves. And it can ease your mind. So in a way, when you check your symptoms online from websites like Wikipedia or let's say WebMD, so if your illness is not a big deal, nothing big, this can reduce your stress and ease your mind. And the last one, there are some certified programs which you can download, or there are some certified websites you can download and you can see your symptoms. One of them is called actually Symptom Checker. You can find it App Store or Android programs. And what are some of the dangers of self-diagnosis, or let's say disadvantages of self-diagnosis? And first, one of the most important ones, wrong diagnosis. So if you diagnose yourself in an incorrect way, this can be very riskful for your life. It can be even fatal. And second one, it can cause unnecessary stress. And first one was ease your mind in the first section, but unnecessary stress, it is also an outcome, because you can maybe misinterpret your symptoms, you can misunderstand your symptoms, and when it is nothing big, you can think that you have cancer. For example, you have headache, and when you search online, maybe it can tell you have brain tumor, and this may cause really big anxiety or, of course, stress. And the third one, unreliable sources. Of course, on internet, not all of the people who are writing on internet are doctors or medical professional or nurses. So they are people like you and me. So we cannot trust their judgment on symptoms or illnesses all the time. So it is always better to seek professional help. And the last one, it can be dangerous for your life. You can risk your life when you diagnose yourself incorrectly. Like I said in the beginning, it can be fatal, and even it can lead to some serious damage to your body or your mind. Even though you have learned the right medication, still you need to consult, you need to seek for medical help. It is the better way. And before we move on to our exercises, vocabulary exercises, let's check the useful words. We will start with condition. So condition, in this context, it can mean that any type of disease. So we can say that my uncle has a heart condition, we can say. So it's a noun, by the way, here. And allergy. So when you read this, you can sense the similarity with your own language. When you eat something, or when you breathe a substance, when you touch something, your skin or your body may react. Maybe you are sensitive. So this is called allergy. For example, some people have an allergy to peanuts and strawberries. When they eat peanuts, they cannot breathe and they need to go to hospital or immediate help. They need immediate help. And wearable technology, as you can see in the picture, so it's a segment, it's a category that of technology you can wear, like in the photograph. And pharmacist, so these are the people who are approved by their universities and their trainers, and they can sell you prescribed drugs. Even they can prepare if doctor suggests. And severe, So severe is an adjective, so it means that extreme or very highly, and the other one is frightening. So I can give you the synonym. It means like scary, and it's also an adjective. I can say this movie was frightening, and it means that the movie was scary. And reliable. So if I put it simple, it means if something is reliable, you can trust it. So, or if someone is reliable, he or she knows his responsibilities. In a way, it means trustworthy. And illness. Illness means state of being ill, or a synonym, disease of mind or body, we can say. Now let's move on to the exercises. So these are the previous verse in the box, so we will complete the blanks. Let's start with the first one. So first one is, I need to see something this afternoon to ask about my symptoms and buy some medicine. So think about this sentence. Where do you go and buy medicine? And so it is pharmacy. And who do you talk to? You talk to of course, your pharmacist. Now, in the second sentence, it can be something to read about symptoms online, because it can suggest very serious illnesses. So think about yourself. You searched your illness online and you've seen some serious symptoms or serious result. How do you feel? Of course, you feel scared, and the answer in the box is frightening. Now, third one, you can't always trust the medical advice you get online. It is not always trustworthy, I can say, and the answer is reliable. So in the fourth sentence, look at the second sentence. It says, my reaction is not very bad to fish. So actually it's not bad, but you are showing some reaction to food. So this means that you have an allergy. And fifth one, he has had a heart something for 3 years now. It affects him when he plays sports. So here I will give you the synonym. So he has had a heart disease or illness, I will say, and the answer is condition. Now this time the blank is in the beginning of the sentence. Let's read it. Now let's people check information about their health throughout the day. Think about the verse in the box. What checks your health throughout the day, during the day? So you need to have wearable technology, of course, to check your heartbeat, check your heart rate or pulse. And so seventh sentence, I couldn't go to work on Monday. It wasn't serious, just a minor something. By Tuesday it was gone. You're working, you have a job, and so think about again yourself. In what condition, in which situation you don't go to work? What comes to your mind first? So of course when you have an illness. And the last sentence, my headache is so something, I think I might have to go home. I will give you the synonym here. My headache is so extreme. So I have extremely, I have headache extremely, we can say. So the answer is here severe, extreme, highly. And let's move on to our text. So our text name is SelfDiagnosis, and normally on your book you will see the whole text in one page. And let's see our question. So remember the previous lessons, we start with skimming. And what was skimming? So you read the title. If there is a subtitle, you also read the subtitle. And if there are pictures, photographs, illustrations, you check them to get the main idea. So skimming is quick reading, and the purpose is to to get the main idea of the paragraphs or the whole text. And how do we achieve that? Generally, we just read the first sentence and last sentence of every paragraph, but this is not 100%. Sometimes you need to read the full paragraph to understand, to comprehend the paragraph, of course. Now let's look at the first question. What can be inferred from the paragraph? So the question is, what can be understood from the paragraph? When you skim or scan the paragraph, what can you understand? Now let's see the options. So people begin to trust online sources. This is one option. And this is the second one. People only search serious illnesses. So let's read the topic sentence, which I already underlined. So we rely on online sources for our medical problems more and more, and it is better to read the conclusion sentence too. So while many of us rely on this information, how accurate and reliable is it? As you know, so topic sentence most of the time gives the main idea, and concluding sentence gives the writer's or author's idea on that part. So here, what can be the answer? So when you read the first sentence, you will see that answer is A. Now let's move on to second paragraph and the question. So again, we will do the same thing. So many people think that the internet has made it easier for us to diagnose our own illnesses, but research suggests that using the internet can be a very bad way of getting the right medical treatment. So if I read the conclusion paragraph, I will have read the whole paragraph, so I will just read the topic sentence for you. Now, what may be the answer here? So when you focus on the after comma, you will see that the answer is B. So a person may misinterpret their symptoms, misunderstand their symptoms. Now, in the third paragraph, let me read the topic sentence for you. These reactions and the availability of technology have led some to argue that we are creating a generation of worried well. So if you wonder what is worried well, so some people, even if they are not ill, so they feel like they need to go to doctor. So this is called worried well. This is the cause of anxiety, and as you know, when you try to self-diagnose, when you check your symptoms online, this may happen to you. So you become worried well because you've seen all the frightening illnesses and you get anxious or stressed. So these reactions and availability of technology have led some to argue that we are creating a generation of worried well. So this is the topic sentence. And let's read the concluding sentence too. If they do not diagnose themselves accurately, they may not go to a doctor even though they have a serious medical condition. What may be the answer? It is A. So this is the next paragraph, paragraph number 4. And a new kind of online software is called a symptom checker. These programs try to analyze our symptoms and offer advice as to whether we should seek further medical help, such as go to see a doctor or pharmacist. So when I read the topic sentence, I will go on with the options. So symptom checker is not as perfect as online search. Symptom checker is more accurate than internet searches. So I try to check the first part again to see if it gives the answer, but it looks like it's not necessary, so I need to read the whole passage. So when you read the whole passage, you can see that answer is here. It is close to the concluding part. The researchers found that the software symptom checker was right 80% of the time, but internet search for the same information were only right 64% of the time. So let's go back to answers. symptom checker is not as perfect as online search, or symptom checker is more accurate than internet searches. So as you can see the percentages, so it is more accurate, like more correct, I can say, than online search. And our last paragraph, we can read the topic sentence together. At the moment, self-diagnosis is quite basic, but some argue that we will have much more sophisticated self-care in place in the next 20 years. Now, in the topic sentence, you can understand that in future, we will have more advanced technology in self-care or self-diagnosis area. So let's look at the options. So in future, there will be more advanced technology for self-diagnosis. This is one of the answers. Even if technology advances, people cannot trust it. So again, try to run through the sentences and decide if you can see these, if you can understand these from the paragraph. And the answer is A here. Now we will move on to different type of activity, and it is a true-false activity. We will use scanning technique. So previously we talked about this. Basically you are searching for detailed information. So it can be a name, it can be a city, or some date. So you need to go through the text and find those related words or phrases. So it can be one word, it can be 3 words, and it is always better to underline or highlight what you have found. Now let's start with the first paragraph, true false. People often check their physical symptoms like back pain online. First you need to decide what is the keyword here. I would suggest it is back pain in this sentence. I have already underlined the part you should check, but on your book it's on full page and it is not highlighted before, so you should be careful, be cautious. And as you can see, the most common illnesses or conditions people search for are physical pains such as back pain. So when you see this, you can tell that the answer is true. And second paragraph and the true-false sentence. Many people think that the internet makes them worry about their health more. Now let's start scanning to try to find the word worry or the other keywords. Many people think that the internet has made it easier for us to diagnose our own illnesses. But research suggests that using the internet can be a very bad way of getting the right medical treatment. The main problem comes from one of the things. Firstly, we can be too positive about how severe our symptoms are. The other problem is the opposite. Some people are too negative about their situation. For example, the same symptom might be understood by one person as indigestion, but another could understand it as a heart attack. So, actually, answer was in the first sentence. As you can see here, it says it is easier. Many people think it made it easier, so searching online made it easier. But in the sentence, it says it made people worry about their illnesses more. So the answer is false. And third sentence, we pay more attention to articles to make us worry. Always, if you so you use all the techniques like skimming, scanning, or checking for more details. If you cannot find, you should read the passage to understand the passage totally. And so I found it for you. Generally, the more frightening an article is, the more of your attention it is likely to get. So what do you think? What can be the answer? So in this sentence, it is trying to say, if the news about your illness is scary and more frightening, it means that you can focus on that more. So if something is bad, people tend to focus on negative side much more than positive side. So answer is true. And the fourth true false, symptom checkers are better than the internet in general. Internet searching, it is trying to say here. So I already highlighted the part. Under test for symptoms that were severe and would need emergency care, the researchers found that the software was right 80% of the time, but internet searches for the same information were only right 64% of the time. So we can say that the answer is true, because symptom checker is better than internet search. You can see the ratio or percentage on the board. And the last true false, or not given by the way, that's also an option. In the future, doctors will work largely online with patients. Here I didn't underline anything because so you need to read it. At the moment, self-diagnosis is quite basic, but some argue that we will have much more sophisticated self-care in place in the next 20 years. For example, body scanners in shop might be able to diagnose illnesses faster and more effectively than doctors. The system could also give drugs like pharmacist does and make appointments with a doctor. This, along with using wearable technology such as watches, means we could have dozens of daily statistics about our health. In just a few years, Googling your symptoms could seem quite an old-fashioned method as technology starts to constantly check our health. So the reason why I haven't underlined anything, so this was also another option not given. So can you see anything related to doctors will work largely online with patients? So can you notice anything related, or any sentence may be paraphrased for this one? So here I also cannot see that, so the answer is not given. So when you cannot find something similar to that true false not given sentence, first of all you need to be careful. Maybe it is paraphrased, maybe there is some sentence that may give the similar idea, and in that way we have to say it is true or it is false. But when you cannot find even anything close, anything relatable, this means that the sentence is not given. So thank you for watching and listening. See you next time.